So according to the National Institute for Health, loneliness can cause all sorts of symptoms like high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, a weakened immune system, anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, and ultimately even death. All from loneliness. And according to the University of California at Berkeley, a brain imaging study showed that feeling ostracized, feeling like an outcast, actually activates our neural pain matrix. So meaning we actually feel physically in pain when we're lonely. And all of this because we feel like we don't belong, or we feel like there's no place for us. And in our minds, the best thing to remedy loneliness is people, right? We need to just go and be around people, but there's lonely people surrounded by people all the time. So how do we combat loneliness when it's not just being surrounded by people? We need community. In community, somebody can recognize our loneliness and be intentional about our loneliness. We can be intentional about our loneliness in community, not just surrounded by people. There's a big difference, but in community. Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. So how are we going to do this? Not neglecting to meet together. We need, as kingdom people, as Jesus people, we need to meet together. We need to be in community. Being in community will help combat any loneliness that the enemy might throw at us, or any the world is allowing us to feel or making us feel. We can combat this loneliness with community. And we have to be intentional about this community. We have to get out, and we have to walk through the doors of a church to be around and surrounded by people. We have to be in community. And it's more than just coming into church. We have to actively participate and take some initiation. Sometimes we come to a church service and we just think that we're consumers of the church service, that it's for us and it's only for us, and it's something that we can rate a church on based on what they gave us and how they performed or what they offered to us, instead of looking at it as an opportunity to gather together as believers, as kingdom people. So we need to be intentional about our community together. And maybe if you're coming to a church service and it takes a little bit more than that, we've got to take the rows and make them circles. So we need to be in a community group. So maybe you need to get into a community group. Maybe you need to get into a men's study group. Maybe you need to get into a women's discipleship group. Something where you can have community, because we have to be surrounded by people. This is going to encourage us, and this is going to combat the loneliness that is so prevalent in our culture today when we are surrounded by community. So get in community. We get in community because we're encouraged when we get in community. We're surrounded by like-minded people. We're surrounded by kingdom people, and it helps us keep our mind on track, and it encourages us. But more than just encourages us, our presence in community encourages others as well. So we need to be in community, but we also need to be that community for somebody else. We need to intentionally be the community that combats loneliness. If you're experiencing it, then there's a good chance that somebody around you is also experiencing it. If you need a hug, there's a good chance that somebody around you needs a hug. So give the hug. If you need a cup of coffee and a good conversation, then there is a good chance that somebody around you needs a cup of coffee and a good conversation. Make that initiation. If you need a new friend, then there's a good chance that somebody around you needs a new good friend. So let's encourage one another by our meeting together and to be intentional in that. If you need to hear encouraging words from somebody, I guarantee you somebody else needs to hear those encouraging words. So be that community. And maybe you are in community, and maybe you've been in community for a long time. So maybe it's time that you take an extra step of faith and step out of your comfort zone and start leading. Maybe you lead a community group. Maybe you lead a men's study. Maybe you lead a women's study, because we desperately need community and opportunities for community if we're going to be these kingdom people that we've been called to be. Because our presence encourages one another, and our meeting together encourages one another. And when we are the community that we're called to be, we encourage one another. So let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. I was talking to our 12-year-old just this week, and I said, why do you think it's important that we go and we're a part of church? And he said, well, we need to learn about Jesus, but also it helps me keep my mind straight. So for our 12-year-old to understand the importance of being surrounded by like-minded people and the encouragement that that provides, he's got it. He's got it at 12. So we need to remember, not only does being in community encourage us, but being in community encourages one another when we are that community and when we're intentional about it. There should be no lonely people in the kingdom, because we're the difference this world so desperately needs. So let's go and let's be that community. Love you, church.